it to Ola. He'll make it sound sick as
There is no doubt in my mind that that statement is absolutely 100% true. But in case you haven't noticed, this channel is for mere guitar mortals. Welcome aboard. Hey everybody, how's it going? I totally forgot to shoot my intro piece, so here I am just out of the shower. Thought I'd throw this bit in. Anyway, welcome to episode 269 of SMG Viewers Comments, my show where I try and answer your comments and questions to the best of my ability, and hopefully we can all learn something in the process. Anyway, let's get right to it.
Hey Glenn, you've explained many times how you're after the iconic Clayman guitar sound. It just so happens that In Flames recently recorded some songs off their Clayman album. Personally, I like both versions, but the new versions sound a bit more mature in my opinion. The mix is more dynamic. The original recording is much more compressed and sounds more brutal. I'm interested in what you think about the new guitar sound and the new mix in general.
I think it's a complete and total embarrassment, to be honest with you. Clayman in 2000 was perfection. It's the sound that most of us should be striving towards. Clayman in 2020, I think, says a lot about the state of records in 2020, how it's been watered down, it's been limited, and it's really been boxed off into what it could possibly be. In fact, I think this image illustrates the point exactly. I think everybody involved in that entire project should just hang their heads in shame and go do something else, because that was a fucking joke.
Dude, wake up! Sample drums are real freaking drums!
They are? Really? So if I take a sample of this and go put it on a different snare drum, it's still a real drum? So if I fly to the Louvre and take a picture of the Mona Lisa, would you be willing to pay $5 million for that picture? After all, it's the real picture, isn't it? I swear, do some of you guys even fucking think before typing shit out? Ah!
Glenn, cookie cutter metal guitar sound or not perfect but unique guitar sound?
At this stage in the game, I'd be very interested in hearing more unique tones. I remember hearing Pantera for the first time when they debuted Cowboys from Hell on Much Music and thinking, wow, that's a really different and not necessarily the greatest guitar tone I've ever heard, but this guy's definitely found his own thing and he made it work. We need more of that. Instead of the standard 5150 into a vintage 30 into an SM57, try something new. There's all kinds of super cool speaker designs out there. WGS makes some really great stuff, and I just debuted the new Amperians. And I'm just waiting to get the thumbs up to show those on the channel. They are absolutely freaking amazing. They're designed from the ground up for high gain tones, and they're designed to not sound like anybody else, which is super fucking amazing. And now it's time for the daily.
Dear God, you're such a sellout. Justifying everything wrong with something just because you got it for free and want to suck the Neve teeth. You're exactly the type of YouTuber that should be banned. Shilling for big companies is ridiculous.
Yeah, you're talking about the Neve 1073 OPX demo I did there a little while back. Yeah, lots wrong with that. Oh no, it doesn't have output faders. It's the end of the universe. The thing is, I plugged it in, ran some signals through it, did some recordings with it, and got some really spectacular results. Why is it they never tell you if the sound you're getting out of it is good, then the equipment is good? Just because it's not exactly what came before it, all of a sudden it's terrible? Dude, seriously, get your head examined or go take up bass guitar.
Nothing replaces the human element, except punk bass by Submission Audio, right, Glenn?
When have I ever once said bass players are human?
Dude, don't know if this chick knows she sounds like a dude, but you're not funny with your baby emanations and your channel sucks because you're in it.
I just love it when I get hate comments from the functionally illiterate. Dude, try a comma for once in your life. People might think you're intelligent that way.
The more I watch Glenn, the more I realize how much of a dick he is, truthfully.
Yes, I'm a complete and total dick. That's why I'm giving away $30,000 in studio gear for oldies but baddies. To be a dick. By the way, make sure you watch on Sunday for the review video because the entries are getting better. We're seeing some cool stuff, finally. And for those of you guys who haven't entered yet, yes, there's plenty of time to get in on this contest because I still need another 15,000 subscribers before the contest ends. By the way, if you hit the subscribe button, that would be a huge help.
Dude, if you want to convince us that a pedal is shit, maybe not try to do such a good mix. That sounded awesome.
Well, thank you very much. I really do appreciate that. I think that video illustrates a very important point, that the guitar sound is not the only contributor to how good a mix sounds. The drum sounds matter, the bass tone really matters. Now, one of the reasons that mix sounded so good, even with a crap pedal in place, is because of Eric Arco and his ferocious bass playing. A bass player is super important in a metal mix, and that's why you always hear me rant and rave about bass players, because most of those guys don't take it seriously and don't realize just how important their playing technique is in the overall sound of a mix. You can have the shittiest guitar tone in the world, but if you've got a great bass tone underneath it, guess what? Your record is gonna sound not bad at all. If you want verification, go check out my review on the Digitech Metal Master pedal, because I put it before the amp and in the effects loop. And honestly, I thought it sounded pretty good in the mix too, both ways. Obviously, it works better in the effects loop, but in a context of a mix, it's not half bad, even in front of the amp. But let's not kid ourselves. On its own, it sounds like absolute garbage.
Beginner question, what is mastering exactly?
That's a great question. I'm sure we all asked that at one point or another. Basically, mastering would be the last stage before a mix went onto vinyl, and in the digital age, it's really come down to a couple of things, like sequencing the record, deciding what songs go in what order, doing the fade outs, that kind of thing, and getting the overall level from song to song to remain the same. And in the late 90s and early 2000s, it became making your record as loud as obnoxiously possible. That did an awful lot of good for music, now didn't it? I've got some really cool episodes on the subject of mastering coming up. Please make sure you're subscribed for that.
Hey Glenn, I'd appreciate it if you could tell me how to get a good drum sound with only 2 mics. I'm a 16-year-old multi-instrumentalist living in a small house in the Philippines, and I'm about to buy a 3rd-gen Focusrite 2i2, which is a 2-channel interface, but I still want to have a great drum sounds for Indian rock to metal music. I know there are already lots of videos about this, but I'd like to hear what your advice is, because some people out there just replace the drum sounds with MIDI drums, and I'd really like the sound of the instruments that you record. Cheers from the Philippines.
Oh, tough one there. Now, a 2-channel interface, you're going to be very limited to what you can do. I would not recommend attempting to record acoustic drums with only 2 channels. You can't even do a Glenn Johns technique, because that needs a top mic, a side mic, and a kick mic, possibly a snare mic. So I'd go with a 4-input minimum for drums. If you can't afford that, that's absolutely fine. Go with the drum samples thing. Here's the thing, recording drums takes a lot of time, discipline, and effort, and you're not probably going to be very happy with the results you get right out of the gate, because there's just so many variables you need to learn to master, like tuning the drums, getting it set up right, working with the drummer on their hit technique, you name it. It's a very, very long road. It's a cool skill to have, and these days it will definitely make you stand out from the crowd. Maybe in your situation, maybe try working with a room mic and maybe a close mic on a snare or something like that, and just play around with the different positions and find the best sound that you possibly can. The trick is to keep at it and don't give up, because you can only go up from this point. Good luck, man.
Superior drummer is infinitely better than my band's drummer, so yeah, I have no choice.
And sadly, that is a tale that is true for many, many, many bands out there. It's nothing a little practice couldn't cure.
Dude, do you ever listen to stoner metal? So much of that stuff, even the new shit, sounds pretty genuine with the drum parts.
Yeah, actually, I really got into Caius in the 90s, and I like other stoner bands like Orange Goblin, and there's a band from Sweden called Mammoth Volume that I really got into. But I checked out a band last year here in LA. They were playing a show at a club in Tarzana, and they were called Old Blood, and they were pretty unique. They had this Sabbath vibe, but they had this girl singer who's had kind of like this jazz singer edge, and she was done up in costume, makeup, and she was standing on top of this box, and it was lit all underneath, and she had a glow-in-the-dark hula hoop. I was like, wow, this is really unique. This is really cool. Great groove to that band. Unfortunately, that was her last gig. I heard they got a new vocalist. Hopefully she was working out. But the song Silk Road Rash, you can find it on YouTube here somewhere, really stuck in my head. I really dug it. Very cool stuff. Oh, and of course, if you guys have not seen the video for Red Fang's Prehistoric Dog, please check it out. It's awesome. And that was the band that inspired me to go out and get a Sun Beta lead.
Circle pits, hardcore dancing, crowd killing. I'm all for it. Ha 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 ha.
Well, Daddy Jr., looks like you've got a bright future ahead of you. And yes, I would like fries with my order.
Hey Glenn, may I ask what you actually use on day-to-day basis in mixing? Latest and greatest plugins that you show us here, or do you have your way of doing it, plus adding some new plugin like you here have over time? Because so far you have shown us, and many have been blown away by AIX DSP, InfiniStrip, McDSP, and you've been using Slate VMR, etc. They are all great and can get you professional results, but what do you usually use?
Well, it's kind of a big mishmash at this point. I love the AIX stuff, especially on toms, because you can just tune the EQs perfectly. That's great. I love the PSP Infinity Strip. That is just killer. I've used that on a bunch of stuff, and I just recently got into the McDSP stuff as well. My question is, would you guys like to see a shootout? Slate versus McDSP versus PSP versus AIX DSP. Show you guys the same mix with 4 different plugin sets and let you guys make up your own mind. Would that be something you guys would be into? Inquiring minds want to know. Please leave a comment below, and if I get enough responses, I'll do that video.
Hi Glenn, is mastering/recording to tape really worth it, or can you get the same results with a bunch of plugins?
Ask yourself this, is $300 for 15 minutes of tape worth it? Because that's how much it costs. 20 years ago. I'm not even sure what a reel of tape will cost you these days. It's not going to be cheap, that's for sure, and there's no undo button either. You can just go over it and over and over again. But if you screw up one little thing, you've either got to live with it or you have to track the whole bit again. Yes, you can punch in, but not nearly as accurately as you can on digital. Now, I was just talking about the McDSP plugins. The last answer, McDSP has a wonderful tape saturation simulator built into their new 6060 channel strip. That is really freaking cool in my opinion. SoftTube also makes a wonderful tape emulation as well. The question isn't whether or not tape is the right choice for you. The question is, can you play well enough to record to tape? Because that shit don't lie.
I love how none of these bass player stereotypes ever apply to me.
Except for that part about bass players not being very bright. Nice grammar, by the way. All right, everybody, that's it for this episode. Thanks so much for all your comments, questions. Please keep them coming below because I love hearing from you guys. Now, if you haven't, please hit the subscribe button because that does help the show out, helps me grow this thing, and helps me make cool things like Fearless Gear reviews and stupid musician texts and all the rest of the really great stuff, as well as answer your questions every single week. And as I sign off for another week, I leave you with some wisdom from the band Gwar. Don't be part of the herd. Don't be just another cow. Find your own sound and make something amazing. Even think before. Maybe make a video on how to make sampled drums sound more interesting. There should be a course. There should, of course, be. Maybe a video on how to make sampled drums sound more interesting. They should be, of course. Inquiring minds want to know. Leave us a comment. No, it's kind of a mishmash at this point, and you're right. There's some amazing tools out there. I love the AIX stuff. I love. Oh, I think the fucking. Did the battery die on that? Gotta love hate. You gotta love hate comment. Oh, I love hate comments from the functionally illiterate. One more time. Maybe make a video on how to make sampled drums sound more interesting. They should, of course, be custom programmed with manual velocities and manually added ramp. Oh, fuck this. I'm not doing this.